We are continuing the UFC 312 fight card. Dricus du Plessis versus Strickland. Let's get right into it, but before we do, remember this Saturday we are doing the live watch party for this fight card. But let's get right into today's video. We have Crute versus Rodolfo Bellato. Rodolfo is 12-2. His country is Brazil. He stands at 6'3" tall. He weighted and a leg reach of 44 inches. While Crute, on the other hand, has a record of 12-4-1. His country is Australia. He stands at 6'2" tall. He weighed at 218 pounds 30 in his last win. Has a reach of 74 inches and a leg reach of 43 inches. Rodolfo has a 1-inch height advantage, a 1-inch leg reach advantage, and a 3.5-inch reach advantage. This is a light heavyweight bout fight, so Rodolfo should keep it long, keep it nice and rangy, use his reach, keep the distance, and strike. Now, I don't know if his game plan will be grappling. It could be, and if it is, it's going to be fairly easy for him to break down that range to get on the inside. But Crute hopefully understands how to manage distance and understand how to get on the inside, because if Crute can't get on the inside and Rodolfo does decide to strike in this fight, Crute's going to have a long night. Most fighters seem to struggle with distance management. Now, that's not a dig at the fighters. It's a lot difficult to just sit there and be like, okay, this is the distance I need to keep, because when you're in the fight, it's a lot more harder to keep the distance. You can't sit there and be like, oh, he has to keep this 3.5 inches. It's not going to work like that. He has to figure out how to keep the distance. He's got to figure out ring control. He's got to work out how to cut angles. He's got to work out how to create openings, but also stick and move. Rodolfo should move around, stay on the back foot a little bit, and if Crute backs up, don't fall into a trap, because that normally is what a trap is, where they back up to force you in, and sometimes they go forwards to back to keep you in a trap as well. They tend to either back you up and pressure you, or they tend to go on the back foot, very heavy on the back foot, and just go back in a straight line. Now, these guys should be experienced well enough to where if they do just go back in a straight line, that it is a setup. But let's move on to win buys to see how they've got it done in their previous fight to widely open up the game plans for these two. With Crute having a 42% KO, 33% submission, 25% decision, with an average fight time sitting at 6 minutes and a knockdown average of 1. While Rodolfo, on the other hand, had a KO percentage of 58, 33% submission, 8% decision, with an average fight time sitting at 9 minutes and a knockdown average of 1. These two have the same wins of 12. Now look at the submission percentage, 33% for both guys. That means they both have the exact same submissions. But Rodolfo, more of his wins are coming by knockout, and yes, Crute, most of his wins are coming by a knockout as well. The thing that he lacks is stoppages, because he has a 25% decision rate, while Rodolfo has only an 8%, which means Rodolfo hardly ever of his fights go to a decision, but Crute, it's a very possible ability. Does that mean that Crute wins if it goes to a decision? Probably not. The next stats will tell us that, but already Rodolfo, keep it on the feet, keep it nice and long, range, stay on the back foot a little bit, don't back up too much just in case, because you both have the grappling. But of course, mix it up a bit, don't just stay on the back foot, move forwards, apply pressure, take control. Don't let him apply pressure to you, because he might find a way of an opening to get on the inside and get a takedown. Remember, it's a lot easier to get a takedown on the front foot than it is on the back foot. You force him on the back foot, you have openings to takedowns, submissions, your striking. You have a lot of openings for your stuff, for your abilities. You both have a fairly high knockdown average. I'm assuming that's based off their last fight, so they both have a fair bit of power, and we're going to find out whose chin can withhold whose power a bit more. It depends if they land very powerful strikes or if they don't. If they land very powerful strikes, we're going to find out whose chin's stronger. If both chins could be very strong. If not, it could be a fairly boring fight. Not that it'll be a boring fight, but on the feet it won't be as exciting. For the casuals that don't enjoy the grappling, they're going to hate this fight possibly. But let's move on to significant strikes to see if it does stay on the feet, who performs better. With Rodolfo having a 6 punches landed per minute, a 61% significant strikes percentage, an average of 6 punches absorbed per minute with a defense of 44%. While Crute, on the other hand, had an average of 4 punches landed per minute, a 54% significant strikes percentage, an average of 3 punches absorbed per minute with a defense of 44%. These two keep becoming fairly even fighters. I mean, their defense is the exact same. Their submission percentage is the exact same. Now, the difference here is Rodolfo absorbed more. His previous opponent, with the evidence here, outputted a lot more than Crute's previous opponent. But Rodolfo, I don't know who initiated it more. Whoever initiated it more Rodolfo either forced the pressure, forced it to be a fight, because he landed an average of 6 punches, or if his opponent did and Rodolfo did very well at fighting back, because his significant strike percentage was very high with a high amount of strikes. Now that is very, very rare, where a fighter will land a high amount of strikes with a high amount of significant strikes percentage. But Jimmy Crute didn't really land that many, didn't absorb many, he absorbed just a bit less. His significant strike percentage was a bit worse, and yeah, his output, we don't really know the output compared to Rodolfo. Again, I'd love to know the output, but they won't show that. But basing it off of these stats, Rodolfo should do better. Rodolfo, if he is the one who is the aggressor, should do a lot better. If he's aggressive with his reach, with his height, could be a long night for Jimmy, because that wouldn't just be on the feet. On the feet, yeah, that would be a fucking annoying fight. But even in the grappling, we're going to move on to grappling in a moment. His defense, both their defense wasn't great. So I think they both have weaknesses in their game, which it is appearing to start to pierce through here with the defenses. But Jimmy Crute might have a little bit of a better defense, possibly worse. We can't tell. If Jimmy Crute's previous opponent, if he was to land an average of 6 punches, how would the defense look? Could be worse, could be better, could be the same. But based off of this, I'm gonna say it will possibly be a little bit worse. So I think Rodolfo has the landed, has the significant strike percentage, and has the defense, and can withstand some strikes. But how powerful was his previous opponent's strikes? I don't know that. But let's move on to the grappling to see if it does go down, who could benefit better. With Jimmy Crute having an average of 5 takedowns, 57% takedown accuracy, a 60% takedown defense with a submission average of 2, while Rodolfo Bellato had an average of 1 takedown, 25% takedown accuracy, 100% takedown defense with a submission average of 1. Jimmy Crute did a lot better than Rodolfo in his previous fight in the grappling, apart from the takedown, where Rodolfo defended 100%. Every single takedown that was thrown at him, he defended. Now, how many was that? I'm assuming it wasn't too many, and if it was quite a bit, fair fucking play to the guy. But Jimmy Crute, he had 5 takedowns average and a 57% takedown accuracy. That means he got over half of his takedowns, and he did a fair amount. So yes, Rodolfo needs to back Jimmy Crute up to force him away from the grappling, and for Rodolfo, if he wants to grapple. Now, the submission average is another deadly thing. Jimmy Crute is able to make positions where he can take advantage and get the submission. Can Rodolfo do that? It doesn't appear that he did it as well as Jimmy Crute. His takedown accuracy was very poor, so I think it's going to be very difficult for Rodolfo to get Jimmy Crute down. And the takedown average was 1. It was a lot worse, a lot worse, a lot better, and a lot worse. So how do I think this fight plays out? I think if it plays out on the ground in the grappling, I think Jimmy Crute takes the advantage and gets the win. If Jimmy Crute pushes the pressure, starts it off quick, and puts it all on Rodolfo. But if Rodolfo puts it on Jimmy, forces him back, I believe Rodolfo does go for some takedowns, but I don't think he should. I think he should avoid it. I think he should start striking, keep it nice and long, keep it rangy, don't let Jimmy Crute get on the inside. And if he does, make sure you circle out and defend them takedowns. But that's just my thoughts and my opinions. What do you guys think? Who do you think wins? How do you think wins? Apart from that, I'll catch you in a bit. Take care and peace.